Now, the city of Johannesburg is battling to collect revenue to adequately meet its operational needs. There were suggestions within the city to adjust the 2023-24 budget. Joining us to give us more insight is Dada Morero, who is the City of Johannesburg Finance MMC. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Good afternoon, Mpho.
As we look at, what's at stake here, I mean, the allegations of non-payment, budget rebase and threats to cut off electricity, these have been suggested to be signs that all is not well with the City of Johannesburg's finances. What is your immediate response there?
No, thanks for the opportunity to come here today. Certainly there are challenges that the city is faced with. And that is why we are at a point where we would have to rebase our budget. As you know, that our budget was passed on an assumption of a collection rate of about 87%. And reality is that as a result of what we experienced between June last year and now, or the 31st of December, you'd know that we are experiencing high levels of load shedding, which impact on our ability to generate income in as far as the sales of electricity is concerned. Two, we have been battling as a result of aging infrastructure, which then affects us in as far as technical and non-technical losses on both water and electricity, which contributes to us not being able to reach our targets. And as a result of that, we are therefore forced to rebase our budget. And we are still looking at the numbers to confirm as to at what point or at what number we'll be rebasing our budget. But this will allow us to then focus on the three entities which are revenue generating entities, to try and protect those, and perhaps in the next 6 months invest in the infrastructure to try and rebuild our revenue. But we are also cognizant of the fact that the current economic situation is also not helping. As you know, that post-COVID, people are still struggling to find themselves, including to even find jobs, which also affects our ability to collect. That is why you'd find that our indigent register is beginning to increase. And what is also shocking is that the increase is not only coming from your traditional townships and informal settlements, but it is also coming from the what we call suburbs in Gauteng. So it really tells you that there's a serious economic problem. As you know, that the growth, there's not been much economic growth in the last few years, and which then affects our ability to collect. It is true that we are trying our best to stabilize, but at least we are able to meet all our financial commitments on a month-to-month. There are, of course, challenges where we're delaying.
I wanted to expand on that because there are allegations that there is a lot of non-payment. As you scrutinize your finances, I mean, you talk about the challenges, very openly so, and measures to rebase your budgets. Would it be correct to say that the city is broke?
No. At least as we would know that there are certain national norms that we have to comply to. For example, at this stage, our cash cover at least still takes us to about 22 days. We'd like it to be at 30 days as a national norm as required by National Treasury. Two, we still pay Eskom and we still pay rent water without any particular challenges. Three, we still try to pay our creditors. We still try to pay all our service providers. It might not be on our own standards that would like to pay them at least at the latest within 30 days. At times it drags beyond the 30 days, and that could be as a result of cash flow at a particular time or particular week in a month, which then affects our ability to pay them on time. But I might tell you now, we do pay our
Is that not concerning, though? Because, we are hearing and learning, as I read, the DA Johannesburg caucus leader Belinda Kaiser saying that Eskom has threatened to disconnect the city in the past 2 months as a result of this.
I don't want to say she's lying, but I want to say she's probably not telling the truth. We pay Eskom. Last week we also paid Eskom. You can call Eskom. They will confirm that we are one of the most reliable clients, the city of Johannesburg. We make sure that Eskom is paid on time. If we have issues, we do go and negotiate with Eskom, which we did in January this year, where we said instead of paying them full, would like to pay the balance the following week, which they agreed with us on terms, and we're able to settle the balance the following week. It will not be truthful of Belinda. It's just playing politics. We do pay Eskom. We do pay Rand Water. Eskom can confirm that they've never had problems with Johannesburg.
Where does this place Joburg Water? Because there has been suggestion, Joburg Water and City Power, there's been suggestion that the two have been most disadvantaged since the city took over revenue collection in 2015, and the city's centralized billing system is failing in its efforts to enhance efficiency, transparency and accountability.
Not necessarily. We went through a big program as the city, which we called it Pakama. I think it started just around 2006 or so, and the intention was us to have one view of the customer, which makes sense that you issue the invoice from City Power, from Joburg Water, and the bill will then be issued by one center. In that way, you're able to manage the customer. So the customer doesn't have to go to City Power, tomorrow goes to Joburg Water, but a customer will have one center to go to if they have issues that they want to deal with. The idea remains noble. All what we need to do is to ensure that there's efficiency between the revenue service, water and City Power. If we ensure that there's efficiencies, there should not be a problem. In fact, from the implementation, there were no issues right up until period of 2017-2018. We have not had issues in terms of that program itself. So you don't want to change because you feel now there's less efficiency. All what we have to do is focus on management and ensure that there's management and there's efficiency in management. So what we are doing now also currently is to ensure that we follow up on our large users, power users, which is a program that we have been doing since the last 4 months to ensure that their accounts are up to date, to ensure that they pay their accounts. We must also accept that there's a lot of illegal connections in Johannesburg on both water and electricity, which continues to put a strain on our ability to collect finances. So we're trying our level best through our law enforcement agencies, especially the Johannesburg Metropolis Department, which are trying to help us to enforce bylaws to deal with illegal connections. Once you can reduce the losses, both technical and non-technical, we think that the city will be in a better position.
What does this say now about, you right at the start, you mentioned the economic challenges and how that's affecting rate payments. Does this mean that you're going to be rethinking perhaps a possible reduction for ratepayers, because that in itself increased when it comes to property? Are you going to be rethinking that at all?
No, we have done and passed the levels of the evaluation role. We dealt with all the objections. Now we are responding to the customers based on the objections that were made. We are approving, we're doing all that work. There's no rates that will change except for you when you had an objection. After all the investigations and we agree with you, we'll then be adjusting you, and we will credit you for the period of an objection until we reach the stage of resolution. Now, you do know that in fact Johannesburg rates are fairly lower as compared to other municipalities, except that you may find that some of our tariffs are even higher than other municipalities. So there are adjustments that we're looking at. For example, we're trying to look at adjustments in terms of business as it relates to our water tariffs, which we think that are a bit higher and they're putting a strain on business, and we want to keep businesses in Johannesburg, because keeping businesses in Johannesburg means that we are giving ourselves an opportunity to continue to create jobs in Johannesburg. So the challenges are there, but I can say the municipality is in a fairly good position. Even Moody's and our credit ratings now giving a stable outlook. We hope that in the next few months we'll get a positive outlook. So we are doing fairly well in terms of our financial position. Yes, there are challenges. We would like to be at 90% collection rate, because once we're at 90%, we do know that a whole lot of service delivery issues will be able to address. However, as I conclude on this issue, there's a need for us, together with national government, to review the funding of municipalities. It's no longer sustainable, because we have been reliant on electricity and water revenue for us to be able to fund the major programs of the cities. But reality is that revenue is no longer what it used to be, as a result of a number of problems, whether load shedding, some people moving off the grid into alternative sources of energy. So it requires us to rethink holistically the funding of municipalities, including, of course, the question of the revenue share between ourselves, provincial and national government, has to be reviewed if local government has to be sustainable.
Very well. Thank you so much for coming in studio.
Thank you so much, Mpho.
We're going to have